In this video, I want to show you how to simplify the square root of squares. Square root of 2 squared is the same thing as the square root of 2 times 2, because 2 squared means 2 times 2. That's the same thing as the square root of 4, and the square root of 4, which is a perfect square, equals 2. Square root of 3 squared, same thing. That means 3 times 3, which is the square root of 9, which is equal to 3. Square root of 4 squared, that means 4 times 4, which is the square root of 16, which is equal to 4. The square root of 5 squared is the square root of 5 times 5, which is the same thing as the square root of 25, which is a perfect square, which is equal to 5. And the square root of 6 squared is the square root of 6 times 6, which is the same thing as the square root of 36, which is the same thing as 6. And I hope you see a pattern. Notice that the square root of 2 squared is equal to 2, 3 squared is 3, 4 squared is 4, 5 squared is 5, and 6 squared is 6. The pattern you should see here is that anytime we're doing square roots and the base is squared, our answer will always be the base. Here's the 2, 2, the 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 5, 6, 6. Following this pattern, whenever I have the, for example, square root of 10 squared, I already know that equals 10. Whenever I have the square root of 103 squared, that will equal 103. Whenever I have the square root of 25 squared, that will equal 25. Okay? Whenever I have the square root of x squared, that will equal x. Square root of m squared, that will equal m, etc. I hope you see a pattern. Now, if I take these square roots of squares and I use my power property that says that having a square inside of a radical or having a power, any power, will be equivalent to having a power of a root. Example, if I have the square root of 81 squared, this is equivalent to having the square root of 81 everything squared. Or if I have the cube root of 5 to the 4th power, it is equivalent to having the cube root of 5 everything raised to the 4th power. So they are equivalent. That means that having the square root of 50 to the 2nd power and having the square root of 50 everything raised to the 2nd power, they will both equal 50 when we simplify it. This one, because of this pattern that we just showed over here, okay? And this one, because this one means the square root of 50 times the square root of 50. And by the product property of radicals that we saw in the previous video, we know that we can join these two factors inside the same radical, 50 times 50, which will equal the square root of 50 to the 2nd power inside of the radical, right? Which I already know equals 50. Okay, so there you have it. I hope you understood this video. In the next video, we're going to simplify radicals using prime factorization and the product rule.